Hello and welcome to NewsClick. We have been discussing earlier as well the role of digital platforms in this election. Of course, 2014 election was supposed to be the first social media elections in India. But the big story which the Huffington Post has put out a couple of days back was that how WhatsApp is being used for mass WhatsApp messaging for BJP by a private company. Apologize. We always knew that BJP was involved in mass WhatsApp messaging, and this has been raised a number of times. But that is being done through companies, not as a party machinery, by paying a company to do this, and plus a whole bunch of tricks. It's called what is called a dashboard, monitoring the messages, the replies, all meant to automate the WhatsApp messaging. Now, do you think that this is a violation of the Election Commission's guidelines, both in terms of expenditure as well as term of content?
If what recent reports published in HuffPost India are correct, then it seems yes, prima facie, they do violate the guidelines of the Election Commission of India.
But which are the guidelines?
All right, let me explain. It's a series of episodes. So let's first go a step back and then we'll look ahead. Now, if you have a business account with WhatsApp, you can legitimately, send mass messages. You can have automatic welcome messages, automatic quick replies, and much more. But this is transparent, and that you are advertising a product or a service is evident to all. But WhatsApp's own rules say that you can't do political messages on this. Okay. So you can be selling soap or toothpaste or something else, and that's all above board. There's no problem at all. You open your WhatsApp message or your something and you can get it. But what is not clear is whether these sort of the so-called WhatsApp army of the BJP, who's actually paying for them? What this HuffPost article shows is that there is a Jaipur-based company, a private company called Serve Webs Private Limited. And they are doing this kind of mass mailers on behalf of the BJP, and they say so. Now, if you link what Serve Web Private Limited is doing to the 2017 assembly election campaign of the BJP in its own records before the Election Commission show that it paid roughly 23.6 lakh rupees to this company.
For what purpose, we don't know.
For what they say, messaging services, voice services. Now,
at least it could have been WhatsApp messaging even that time.
The question is, are they doing the same for the Lok Sabha elections? And if so, has the Election Commission of India made any effort to check with WhatsApp?
Yeah, I'm going to take a step back on that as well. We know that this company, if HuffPost reports are to be believed, is also doing campaigning for BJP using WhatsApp messaging platform. This is what the report says. If it is true.
And the writer Gopal Sathe, who's based in Bangalore, according to him, they wrote to both this company, Serve Webs Private Limited, and the Bharatiya Janata Party, and they did not get any response.
So there they have based themselves on internal reports which indicate that yes, they are continuing what they did in 2017. Without prejudice, as the legal language is, let's say that this is, true. In which case, two issues are involved. Is the money that is spent being reported as a party's election expenditure, like they did for the 2017 assembly elections? B, who has cleared the messages? Because WhatsApp is an encrypted platform. We don't know what is inside that. Externally, we can't find that out. But of course, the receiver knows what he has received or what she has received.
And the sender also knows.
Sender also knows. But if it has not been cleared,
That too is a violation of the Model Code of Conduct, because all such political content has to be approved prior to its dissemination and distribution by the MCMC, which is
Media
the
Certification
and Monitoring Committee, which is a body that has been set up by the Election Commission of India. It's supposed to comprise senior media professionals.
So we have really no report whether the WhatsApp messaging is going through certified, shall we say, messages or cleared by the MCMC or not. Right. We don't know. So that's the second part we don't know. But if not, then that would also constitute a serious violation. And that violation is actually, is it a criminal offense?
Look, now this is up to the Election Commission of India. Under the Constitution of India, the Election Commission of India exercises what are called plenary powers.
That's Section 324 of
What are plenary powers? Plenary powers are powers that are in a sense unchecked. So if the Election Commission of India says, you have done this wrong, you don't even have a right to appeal, because the Election Commission under the Constitution is exercising its powers. So like it says, okay, Yogi Adityanath, you cannot campaign for 72 hours. Maneka Gandhi, you cannot campaign for 48 hours, etc., etc., etc. Ms. Mayawati, you can't be talking about politics, etc., etc. Now, the point is, let's look at what a spokesperson of WhatsApp has reportedly remarked in response to HuffPost's inquiries. Now, in an email, WhatsApp characterized such kind of behavior, that is like sending bulk messages of the same kind, as abusive. This is what WhatsApp is saying. And they're also saying that the platform removes over 2 million accounts per month. Each month they remove 2 million such accounts. We don't know whether in India or across the world. What they say, automated behavior. Furthermore, I'm quoting what HuffPost has written from what WhatsApp has said. They are saying attempting to distribute content en masse on WhatsApp requires users to work around the design of our platform, and doing so exhibits signals that we use to identify abusive accounts. And the so-called dashboards that are there are also supposed to track the number of replies, etc. Now, what WhatsApp is saying is when they are confident that that account is abusive, they ban that account from WhatsApp.
And that's a generic statement.
1 minute. Yeah. Then it says further, then we can use the information available to us to what they say, reverse engineer past behavior to prevent similar abuse in the future. You're right, it's all generic things. But let me add something. What they've also said in this report, and here they quote, and they said that incognito, they peeked into what they claim a BJP supporter's WhatsApp inbox, and they found what they describe, and I quote the HuffPost article by Gopal Sathe, a chilling selection of messages that seem to cross the legal boundary between political expression and hate speech.
Facebook has given no clear answers. They've given answers which says we have automated tools, we do things, we are good people and so on. But there is one instrument which for a long time WhatsApp, Facebook did not use, that you had to agree to be opted into a messaging group. And till April 10th, if I'm not
very recently, say very recently.
April 10th, you could opt in anybody without his consent. Now it appears you need the consent. But what happens to the existing groups, we don't know. And all these WhatsApp groups, presumably, have been set up well before April 10th. All right. So we don't really know the status of all of this now.
Okay, 2 points here. In this article, HuffPost India quotes Ramandeep Singh Cheema. He used to earlier work with Google, and now he's working with an international non-profit human rights, public policy and advocacy group called Access Now. He's a senior international counsel with them and an Asia policy director. He's been quoted as saying in this article that if it is advertising media pushed to people who didn't sign up for it, then you are potentially infringing the guidelines. That means you didn't want these messages, but nevertheless they're
You're
coming
getting
to.
them.
It's spam essentially. But then he says, if it is a service that you have actually opted for, opted into, then this is a grey area and an unclear area.
If a messaging group was set up before April 10th, do its members need to take or need to be opted in post April 10th by whoever is running the group? This is not a question of what is the interpretation of law.
Right.
It's a question of what is factually happening and has
Now,
Facebook.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that's the
There is therefore over here too we have
really no information.
No information.
But we need to ask Facebook this question.
Absolutely.
That having made this, is it retrospectively applicable or not?
Correct.
What
Or prospectively.
prospectively doesn't solve the problem.
Correct.
Because
in
out
the
of
past, all kinds of people have
Already
invited
been
you and
opted
me
in.
or put me into all kinds of
April
groups.
10th is 2 days before the election. Okay, so therefore, most of the WhatsApp groups that BJP would have been
Had
targeted,
already been formed.
according to this, would have been formed. So the real question is, why did they wait till April 10th so that all the WhatsApp groups would have been opted in, or is it something technical that they could not put this for last 6 months and therefore they've taken so much time?
Really only WhatsApp and
So we need to ask this
and
question.
Facebook has to answer. But let me make a few very general observations to reiterate something which I think needs to be emphasized. Now, Amit Malviya, the head of the information technology cell of the Bharatiya Janata Party, was quoted by the Economic Times as saying the upcoming elections will be fought on the mobile phone. In a way, you could say there would be WhatsApp elections. Amit Malviya has been quoted as saying. We know that there are about 1 billion SIMs, subscriber identity modules, in the country. We know many of these companies have multiple SIMs that they use, but be that as it may, in a country of 1.35 billion people, 135 crore, you have 100 crore or 1 billion SIMs. Let's assume, just hypothetically, we don't know the exact figures, about 700 million or 70 crore phones exist in this country. And of this, let's assume, again somewhat arbitrarily because nobody has the exact figures, half are so-called smartphones. And therefore, if out of these half of these smartphones, many of them are using WhatsApp, and you have, say today, 90 crore voters, and you have 30 crore users of WhatsApp, then 1 out of 3 voters are on WhatsApp. Therefore, the weaponization of this social media platform. That was one point I wanted to add. Second point I wanted to add was, if you look at what HuffPost India itself exposed very recently, not very long ago, it talked about what started out as an innocuous non-government organization to promote causes relating to women's rights.
Let's do that separately.
Association for Women Minds.
Let's park that because I have a NaMo TV which is much more recent.
Okay.
Let's do that discussion.
No, but just to conclude it, here is an association and these are so-called volunteers. I mean, this is the other point on the Election Commission. What do you do with proxies? What do you do with volunteers? Yes, please.
Yeah, in fact, the Association of Billion Minds was purely a platform set up by Amit Shah for supporting the BJP, but not under control of the BJP. And does it come under, again, election funding, election reporting? Does it have the controls which a political party is supposed to be? All those are open questions. Parking that aside for today, I'm going to end on this issue, with this question to you. Both of us have been a part of the digital democracy effort, which talked to the Election Commission or wrote to the Election Commission, number of eminent people, including chief election commissioners in that list,
former civil servants,
and various other people, that this is something the Election Commission has to monitor. And in this particular case, exactly what we are saying, targeting, WhatsApp being used.
One small point which I think it's important to add, the so-called micro-targeting that you're talking about. You know, even before all this has happened, in 2013-14, people like Rajesh Jain, they had worked out systems of micro-targeting, including, very interestingly, I don't have it from Rajesh Jain, he didn't want to go on record, but people say they actually built up a database of Muslims. So they knew constituency-wise who not to target.
Yeah, but it's a very simple exercise. You take the electoral rolls, you digitize it. After that, the Muslim names is a very easy way because you have a dictionary of Muslim names from which Muslim names come. You can weed out
Would
Muslim
Amit
or
Shah come into
Christian.
that category? Shah is a Muslim name.
Yeah, you could, but not Amit, so he would escape. But both Christian and Muslim names there could be identified through very simple, I would not even call it artificial intelligence techniques, simple automation techniques of data processing. So that's known, and provided you have the phone numbers, you know what messaging to give them, and I would not say not even target them, but target them completely differently with generic messaging while you target others with specific messaging, including hate. Coming out of this issue, one issue the Election Commission has to look into, which is why I raised the digital democracy platform through which we have raised this issue.
NaMo TV.
NaMo TV is a particularly an example. We don't know till today who really owns it. We are told it is owned by the NaMo app. Since NaMo app is neither a company nor an individual, obviously it's an app is not, shall we say, a robot on the digital space.
It has been developed by a private firm. Apparently, it has been run by the Bharatiya Janata Party's IT
Now,
cell.
here is the issue. It's being run by the Bharatiya Janata Party cell. We assumed it's a BJP owned entity, but questions have been raised. Is it now Mr. Narendra Modi's private ownership? Be that as it may, leaving that aside for the time being, the issue that comes up here is a paid, supposedly a paid service which is coming from all the satellites, or all the your platforms which are there, which is where it's being beamed into your homes. Now, here is the issue that the government of India and the Election Commission seem to be arguing that, look, this is a grey area and therefore we really have no control over it. And the Election Commission now has taken the position that it constitutes paid advertisement.
And therefore should not be allowed to be broadcast in the silence period, which is the 48-hour period before elections.
And that would actually different segments of the country go into elections at different times.
Now, you raised the point. Let me go step by step. The initial reaction of the government, that is when the Election Commission wrote to the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, was that, look, we don't know what's going on. Literally, we don't know. Subsequently, as there was a lot of public pressure, it transpired that this was a DTH platform and came within the purview of the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. Again, there was a grey area. The moot points and the moot questions. If they are using satellites, who's paying for the satellites? Point one. Do they need only permission from the INB Ministry or the Department of Space? Or does the Telecom Regulatory Authority come into the... These are questions. I don't have the answers to these questions, but these are important questions that need answering. Three, the point. Who is providing the content?
Who owns the service?
Right. And the last important point, what you just mentioned, just because the Election Commission says that you should not be showing it, how do you actually prevent it? These are satellites that are broadcasting them. You have the country going into elections in 7 phases. 2 phases are over. And the satellite does not, it's sort of the footprint of the satellite, that electromagnetic web, does not respect geographical boundaries. So it's all very fine to say, don't show it. And in fact, for instance, say the Delhi, the chief election officer has said, stop it. So it devolves on the direct-to-home platforms like Sky, Tata Sky, like say Z Television, Dishnet, like Bharti, Airtel, all of them, they have to they should be directed by the Election Commission of India to disclose who's paying for that service. Or are they offering it free? If so, why are they offering this free, considering that it's political propaganda? 3, how do they actually intend physically stopping the broadcast of those channels in those designated areas where elections are going to take place in 7 phases, now 5 more phases in 7 phases?
Well, I will give a simple answer to the last question you're raising. Well, stop. In those 248 hours, wherever there is an election, stop beaming all over the country. If you can't do it, your problem.
That means two are gone in the next 5 occasions, 48 hours before, you stop it everywhere.
Because if you can't do it by targeting only certain
can stop it
constituencies, the
everywhere.
problem is yours, not of the election commission, not of the country's. That's your problem. That's for you to solve. So that is a simple answer. But I have a bigger issue. Again, who's paying for it?
Precisely. And if somebody is paying for it, are they disclosing this expenditure?
How are they
And who is
disclosing
expensive? Is it the BJP, and is it going to be reflected in its expenditure statements?
So those are the issues that we still have no answers for. And the last point, if it's a broadcast, it does not matter whether you are doing it by special services or not, you are violating the intent of the law. And in India, the legal argument is the intent of the law is what also matters, not just the letter of the law. So intent of the law is clearly being violated by talking about a grey area. And it's unfortunate the regulatory agencies, including the government of India's departments, are not willing to talk about it. And I guess they're waiting for the elections to be over.
I think the silence on this matter is deafening. I mean, clarity, whether it comes from the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, or the Ministry of Space, or the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, or the Ministry of Communications, or the IT Ministry, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technologies. Among them, they should know what is going on.
So, whenever a government department says it's a grey area, it's a very strange argument. That means you have never envisaged this when you have licensed ABCD bodies. I've never heard of a government department saying it's a grey area, okay? At least in my memory. I'm sure there are exceptions, but I don't remember an occasion. And it's a very strange thing that the INB ministry or the IT department or the Telecom Regulatory Authority, Ministry of Communications, all of them are saying it's a grey area, because the nature of the government is to claim jurisdiction, not to withdraw from jurisdiction. Thank you very much, Paraja, for being with us, discussing relatively complex questions, both in terms of regulation and what is the political will of the Election Commission to do certain things in the face of a major political party which seems to be bent upon how to bend the rules rather than follow them. This is all the time we have today in NewsClick. Do keep watching NewsClick.